Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, and I am here to review the August 1992 issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and it's covering WrestleMania 8, and of course it also has a little tribute to Hulk Hogan, because this is when he retired. Well, they thought he retired after WrestleMania, so, and I guess we still throwing tributes to Hulk Hogan since he passed away, so this magazine has a little tribute to him, but this was in 1992, of course. So let's get to reviewing. Table of contents. Highlights from WrestleMania when Ric Flair's trying to kiss Elizabeth and it looked like Bret Hart and Roddy Piper about to kiss. This was a special editorial about all the controversies going on in the WWF at the time. The steroids controversy, the sexual misconduct with the Mel Phillips, the ring announcer, and Terry Garvin and Pat Patterson. And it's funny because when all this stuff was going on, I didn't know nothing about it because I didn't watch the news back in them days. I didn't watch the news, and they wasn't talking about it on wrestling. So I had no idea this was going. This was the first time I knew, reading it in this magazine, this is the first time I knew something like all this stuff was even going down. The steroid controversy, the sexual misconduct. I didn't know nothing about this at the time. So they're just trying to give a little special editorial about it, saying that, as bad as this stuff is, it'll never actually hurt pro wrestling. And they hope WWF cleans up their mess and gets back to pro wrestling. Between the Falls, of course, where the fans write the magazine. Got a picture of Steve Austin, stunning Steve Austin. And then Jumbo Tsuruta slamming Rick Martel. Ringside with Bill Apter. It's talking about how right after WrestleMania, when Macho Man beat Ric Flair, there was an altercation between Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair after a match. And they started shoving each other. And then Bobby Heenan had to come in and make peace. But, they stuck together for a while. After that, they didn't break up right away like you thought. But at the time, there was like trouble between Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair right after WrestleMania. And it also talks about Junkyard Dog and Barry Windham versus Steve Austin and Larry Zbyszko in a street fight. From the desk of Stu Sachs, and it talks about how Vader, and when was the time Vader was the most angry, and they thought it would have been in his wrestling career, but it was when he was playing football for the Rams, and before he got to play, he got injured, and then the coach said he couldn't play anymore, and he said that's the most angry he's ever been. So he just talks about how angry he was that the Rams coach didn't let him play. Basically had to end his football career. Win, lose, or draw. They just talking about certain things from WrestleMania, talking about how Money Inc. Bailed out of their match at WrestleMania and got counted out. Talk about how Skinner got beat by Owen Hart real quick. And talk about how Tonka beat a former AWA World Champion Rick Martel. And how impressive that was. In Focus, talks about Paul Ellering rejoining the Legion of Doom at WrestleMania 8. And hopefully that was supposed to be their big push with Paul Ellering back. Then they went and got that whole Rocco, that ventriloquist dummy thing. Man, that was a horrible idea. Like that idea is so bad they don't even talk about that no more. Nobody brings that up. Even when they had that Road Warrior DVD, they didn't bring that up because it was that might have been like the worst move in wrestling history. Any idea that's stupid should be called the Rocco, because that giving the world's most fearsome tag team, giving them a dummy, a ventriloquist dummy. That's got to be like the dumbest move. That might have been the dumbest thing in wrestling history. And because Paulie Dangerously, being this prick that he's always been, just arguing with a homeless man. Talks about Cactus Jack getting his world title shot against Sting at Beach Blast, which was a great match. And Cactus Jack said it was his favorite match up until that time. So, Cactus Jack vs. Sting was a great match. The Steel Cage with Bob Smith talks about Steve Austin and how he hated to lose, and how it seemed like more than anybody else, he just really hated to lose. So he talked about how he loves to win and how he really hates to lose. Off the top rope with Eddie Elner, and he just answers the fans' questions. The official ratings. Here's your top 10. Number 1, the WCW World Champion Sting. Number 2, the WWF World Champion Randy Savage. Number 3, the US Champ Rick Rude. Number 4, the Intercontinental Champion Bret Hart. Number 5, Ric Flair. Number 6, the Global North American Champion Eddie Gilbert. Number 7, the WCW Television Champion Steve Austin. Number 8, the WCW Light Heavyweight Champion Brian Pillman. Number 9, the USWA Southern and Texas Champion Brian Christopher. And number 10, Big Van Vader. Your top tag teams. Number 1, the WCW Tag Team Champions Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton. Number 2, the Steiners. Number 3, Money Inc., the WWF Tag Team Champions. Number 4, the United States Tag Team Champions Terrence Taylor and Greg Valentine. Number 4, the Natural Disasters. Number 5, the Global Tag Team Champions Terry Sims and Scott Pusky. Number 7, Marcus Bagwell and Tom Zink. Number 8, Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Lawler. Number 9, the Bushwhackers. And number 10, the Freebirds. Also in here, they have the first-time ratings of ECW. Of course, this was Eastern Championship Wrestling. This was before Eddie Gilbert and Paul Heyman got there. But, just completely different group than that got famous. So, ECW rankings. Scouting report. They got reports on the Junkyard Dog, on Owen Hart, on Brian Christopher, on the Tasmaniac, Bill Irwin, and Ric Flair. One of the reasons I wanted to watch the USWA so much was because they did so much write-up on Brian Christopher, and I was just like, I gotta see this guy wrestle, because he got so much press, and so he was one of the reasons at the time why I wanted to see him. I wanted to watch USWA because I wanted to watch Brian Christopher. And of course, Owen Hart. And then they talk about Junkyard Dog. It's crazy how WCW kept hiring this guy because at this point in his career, I really don't think he was added much, but WCW loved to bring him back. They brought him back. It was like once WWF let him go, they never wanted him back. He never came back to the company, but WCW would always give him another chance. And of course, the greatest wrestler on earth, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Wild Bill Irwin, of course. Press conference with the Ultimate Warrior. This was after he returned from WrestleMania. And I think this might have been a real interview because I think this was the post-WrestleMania press conference. So this might have been a legitimate interview where they just took copy from transcribed his interview from that post WrestleMania press conference. Yeah, I don't know. I was very surprised when the Warrior came back. I thought he was gone for good. And they asked him like, did any other wrestling company try to talk to him when he was gone? And he said he didn't make himself available for any other company. Because that would have been interesting to see him go to WCW around that time and maybe team up with Sting. But I guess he never went there. I mean, later on, but during his in and out, so the WWF, he never went to WCW. Hell and Farewell. As Savage is recrowned, is Hogan gone forever? So WrestleMania 8 highlights. Of course, Undertaker vs. Jake the Snake, where Undertaker beat Jake the Snake, and then Jake the Snake was gone from the WWF after that. And the Bushwhackers fought the Beverly Brothers, but I don't think that was on the pay-per-view. And then the first match on the show, I think, was Shawn Michaels versus Tito Santana, which Shawn Michaels won in a really good match. Shawn Michaels had like maybe 4 opening WrestleMania matches, and they were all good. The match he had him and the Rockers versus Haku and the Barbarian at WrestleMania 7. Then him versus Tito Santana at WrestleMania 8. And then him versus Tatanka at WrestleMania 9. Those were like 3 really good opening matches for WrestleMania. You had Virgil, Sergeant Slaughter, Hacksaw Duggan, and Big Boss Man versus the Mountie, the Nasty Boys, and Repo Man, which Sergeant Slaughter's team won. You had the return of the Road Warriors with Paul Ellering as their manager. Of course, you had Bret Hart beat Roddy Piper to regain the Intercontinental title, and the Macho Man beat Ric Flair, of course, to regain the WWF Championship. Yeah, like Tatanka beat Rick Martel, Owen Hart beat Skinner, and Money Inc. took a count out, and they lost by count out to the Natural Disasters when they just left the ring. And then, of course, Hulk Hogan beating Papa Shango by disqualification. Hulk Hogan beating Sid Justice by disqualification when Papa Shango interfered. Then, of course, that brought back the return of the Ultimate Warrior. Okay, and this is the spectacular career of Hulk Hogan. You know, like this is back, when they thought he was going to retire in '92. It just so like I mean, I would imagine Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the new one is going to have to come out with a tribute to Hulk Hogan, and it's going to be like the whole magazine is going to have to be, dedicated to Hulk Hogan with full front to back, just pictures of Hulk Hogan and stories of Hulk. I mean, the good stuff and the bad stuff, but, he did a lot of good stuff. So. Got him slamming Brutus Beefcake, him with a headlock over Jerry Lawler, him with Freddie Blassie, and then him arm locking Andre the Giant. Then a close-up of Hulk Hogan with the poster. Then got Hulk Hogan's greatest match is against Sergeant Slaughter from WrestleMania 7. His toughest opponent is the Ultimate Warrior. His favorite maneuver is the leg drop. And his most hated opponent is Sid Justice. Then they got some pictures with him in Rocky 3. And then him versus Antonio Inoki. Him winning the title from the Iron Sheik. Him versus Jesse the Body in an arm wrestling contest. And him versus Bob Backlund. And of course him headlocking Stan Hansen. And in this picture he had the dark beard that he eventually used when he was with the NWO. So you can kind of see he had the dark beard doing that thing back then. Got him versus Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful. him versus the Ultimate Warrior, him versus the Macho Man, and then him with the twin referees Earl and Dave Hebner. And then I guess a picture of him versus King Kong Bundy from WrestleMania 2. Hawk vs. Sergeant Slaughter, Hawk vs. Ric Flair, Hawk vs. Sid Justice. There's a picture of Hawk when he was touring the bases, the military bases during the Gulf War '91, and then Hulk Hogan vs. The Undertaker. The belt proves Sting's the best, so why won't the world admit it? So this is after Sting beat Lex Luger for the World Heavyweight Championship, and he's battling against Rick Rude and Vader. And they were saying how the world's not giving Sting credit for what he's done. But I love Sting as champion. I thought, like say he was the face of WCW. So I was actually surprised when Vader beat him. I didn't think. I thought Vader was just there to be just one more person for Sting to beat. I was really shocked that Vader beat, because I didn't know that much about Vader before. So I was very shocked to see him beat Sting and win the championship. But this is just talking about what Sting has done to deserve to be called the best. And yeah, Sting had a good run in early '92. Gore galore, and PWI is to blame. This is a match between Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony and Eric Embry. And there was the photographer came down there, and he said that he was shooting the show he was going to take pictures of the matches tonight. And Tony Anthony said he wanted to make sure that people remembered who he was, and he said he was going to make Eric Embry bleed. And Eric Embry said the same thing. So they both went out there and tried to kill each other because they knew they was going to be featured in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So they were saying that it's PWI's fault that these guys went crazy, because they only went crazy because they knew that the magazine was going to cover it. And I remember how these pictures stood out, because this magazine was the first one where they went all color and glossy, had the glossy pages. And I really love this magazine at this point, but that's only lasted for like a couple of magazines. Then they went back to the white, black and white, and got rid of the glossy pictures. But I was a big Eric Embry guy, but I wasn't able to watch Memphis at this time. The last time I seen Eric Embry was when he was in USWA, and it was Texas, and he was a good guy. So then I remember reading about him turning heel, and I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, dang, Eric Embry's the guy, Why would he turn to a bad guy? Then I finally got to see the stuff on YouTube, and him and Tom Pritchard, Tennessee versus Texas stuff was really good. Him and Tom Pritchard against Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett, and even turned Eddie Gilbert, had Eddie Gilbert and Jerry Lawler team up for the first time. So that stuff was really good. The tailoring of the tailor-made man. Just talking about the transformations of Terry Taylor. And Terry Taylor was a great wrestler. At least I was a big Terry Taylor fan. But man, that Red Rooster gimmick, man. I don't think there's ever been a gimmick that ruined a wrestler like the Red Rooster ruined Terry Taylor. I don't think he ever recovered from that. Even though he still had good matches and stuff, but I don't think people saw him the same after that. Yeah, because I liked him as the tailor-made man and the computerized man of the 1990s and stuff, but man, that Red Rooster thing, I feel like he never really recovered from that. Like Terry Taylor versus Bret Hart would have been a great match. But I don't know if they even wrestled. I know that would have been a great match, but Terry Taylor as the Red Rooster. Eddie Gilbert captured the North American title. A real patriot doesn't quit. And this is talking about how the Patriot was the global North American champion. He wrestled Dark Patriot. The Dark Patriot beat the Patriot. Then the Patriot, he just left. I don't know what the reason why, but he just disappeared. Then Eddie Gilbert turned to a good guy and then beat the Dark Patriot for the championship. And I was like, I had no idea that the Dark Patriot was Doug Gilbert. Like, I didn't know that till years later. So I was shocked about that. I don't know if at what point when Eddie Gilbert became Booker, did him becoming Booker cause the Patriot to leave? Like, I don't know. I have no idea, because I really wanted to know why the Patriot left. Because I liked the Patriot, and I was shocked that he left Global after that. I thought he would lose the title. I thought he'd come right back and get it back, but then he just left. So I would just wonder if Eddie Gilbert being Booker caused him to leave. I mean, I don't know. But yes, Eddie Gilbert with the North American Championship. Between the Falls, the continuation of the fans writing in letters to the magazines. There was one fan that said Virgil was a jerk to him. They said that Virgil was signing autographs, and then when he went to get his autograph signed, Virgil just said, "That's enough. That's the end of the line, and time is up, and I gotta go." And he just left. So this person was mad about that, saying what a jerk Virgil was. So I mean, I've heard stuff like that too later on. So the continuation of Ringside. Continuation from the desk of. Continuation of from Win, Lose, or Draw. Okay, this month in Sports Review Wrestling, learn the shocking reasons why Rick Steamboat must be suspended, and a special look back at 2 decades of Sports Review Wrestling. This month in The Wrestler, find out why Rick Rude, the U.S. belt means find out for Rick Rude the U.S. belt means failure, and the Legion of Doom's decade of destruction is not over. The Arena Reports, where fans write about the matches they saw at their arenas. Wrestling Inquirer, that talk about Roddy Piper's Pit makes a comeback. And I remember on TV they said, next week Roddy Piper will return with the Piper's Pit, and I just remember being so happy about that. And then the next week came and they never showed it, and that was the last time we saw Roddy Piper. I guess until he showed up at SummerSlam '92 for one little thing, and then that was it for a while. But yeah, I just remember that, like they said, the Piper's Pit, and I remember being so happy that the Piper's Pit was coming back. And then next week came, and they didn't show it, and they never mentioned Roddy Piper again. So, and talk about dissension in the Dangerous Alliance between the Dangerous Alliance and Larry Zbyszko. But Paulie Dangerously said it was not true, and the reporters were just making up stuff. So. And the Hot Shot, a picture of Richard Lee, the manager of the Moondogs, throwing powder in Jeff Jarrett's face. Okay, this has been the review of the August 1992 issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you again later.